Yo, it's your favorite brain dead knight. I can't tell my sword from a frying pan. Horses look like giant chickens, and the local goat army keeps trying to eat my armor. I've got 100 days to not starve, not get headbutted to death, and maybe even build a castle of dung. Welcome to Laughpack Gaming's Medieval Idiot and Goat Apocalypse Challenge. Flag Planet, banner waving now draft your dream team. The cook who turns boiling water into a fire hazard. The blacksmith whose idea of weaponry is a slightly sharpened spoon. And the champion of wimps who'd outsource every fight to a herd. Of goats rather than lift a sword. Let's see how long this trio can blunder through 100 days of medieval. Madness before their own banner becomes their tombstone. Starting in this valley because it's a medieval buffet tyrant peaks from limestone cliffs. Clay for mud brick mansions, and fertile fields even my cook can't fully incinerate. The mild winter means the charged won't freeze solid. The Butterknife Smith won't shatter, and our certified coward can blame every skirmish on goats. His hurls me back to my very first dropship meltdown in that little indie gem. You've definitely heard of Rim World otherwise. The almighty algorithm wouldn't have blessed you with my face. I was such a clueless rookie I googled how not. To turn colonists into fermented sausage and binged YouTube tutorials like my sanity depended on it thanks. Scyther mechs and raider ambush. That's why you absolutely need to watch my 100-day medieval mayhem and buckle up. Because my 100-day Rimworld Odyssey drops soon.
Oh no!
Let's kick this off. I've crashed our loot drop right here and we'll slap up our first cabin. Because if this game pulls a Rim World and makes your precious gear vanish, at least I'll have a roof to cry under while my cook burns dinner and my smith bends the door shut. I need to carve out a foolproof routine equal parts work, leisure, and sleep to keep my castle's morale from collapsing into the moat. If this game mirrors Rimworld, unpredictable squabbles, brawls, or even full-blown shootouts can erupt at any moment, so a solid schedule is one of the most important parts of the playthrough, especially since these characters have distinct personalities that they end up loving, hating, or outright shooting at each other if you don't manage their moods. Now that I've locked in the schedule, let's raise this dumpster fire cabin here, hoping it trips up only the enemy, not my playthrough. This world isn't just logs, clay, and bent butternips. There's glittering gold veins begging to be panned, limestone for fancier mud brick mansions, iron for somewhat usable tools, and a full-blown economy where you can trade roasted berries. For goat milk cheese, bribe bandits with copper coins, and even haggle over enchanted butterknife upgrades. Keep an eye on your coin purse because one bad barter deal and your cook will serve charred stew for coin, your smith will weld. You a spoon for gold, and your coward will run off to join the merchant caravans instead of hauling logs. Alright, team time to harvest some berries. Our cook will bravely sprint in with basket in hand, just try not to torch the bushes this time. Our smith gets the Butterknife of Doom to pluck the choicest fruit, assuming it doesn't bend. Let's build this dumpster fire cabin before our berries spoil and the next downpour soaks us to the bone cook. Haul hay without setting it ablaze. Smith, hammer those lopsided beams that bend like your precious Butterknife of Doom. Coward, bribe the goats into dragging stones while you cower behind a barrel. Shelter up or kiss fresh food and dry socks goodbye.
Oh no!
We've got to stockpile timber before we can slap together that cabin, so our cook is gleefully torching saplings to see which burn fastest and roasting random berries in the process. Our smith is whacking trunks with his glorified Butterknife axe only. To have it snap like a toothpick, and our coward is bribing the goat militia with extra hay so they'll charge the nearest oak and deliver hefty logs straight to the build site. By the end, we'll have a mismatched pile of charred stumps, bent beams, and goat-gnawed planks ready for formless mud brick architecture. Here's your day one recap, no crash ships. Just pure medieval mayhem in our chosen valley. We kicked off at dawn in a fertile hollow flanked by limestone cliffs and iron-rich outcrops. First task, cabin construction. Our fire-obsessed cook managed to haul half the clay only to torch a pile of it into charcoal dust. The Butterknife-wielding smith hammered support beams that bent like reeds, and our resident coward bribed the goat militia into hauling logs while cowering behind a barrel. By mid-morning, we'd cobbled together half a wall and a wobbling roof. Just in time for an impromptu berry harvest cook nearly set the bushes ablaze. Smith gingerly plucked what he could, and the goats delivered a stash of nearly edible fruit. Afternoon saw us testing the schedule, forging weapons, i.e. butternibs, at first light. Breakfast attempts that produced more smoke than porridge. Goat-led patrols, and a well-earned mead-tasting break by the creek. We dug clay for wall repairs while the smith experimented with reinforced twigs, and our coward perfected his goat cuddle morale boost. Along the way, we spotted glinting gold seams and realized there's an economy to exploit trading, charred stew for goat milk, cheese, and bartering bent iron for extra hay. By sunset, our cabin stood half-finished, walls of lopsided clay bricks, a roof that threatened collapse, a mismatched wood pile, and a trio of exhausted misfits ready for the first Torchlight Bard's Tale, Day 1. Chaotic, hilarious, and promising. See you at dawn for Day 2. Day to dawn with our half-finished cabin looking less like a homestead and more like a cosplay of medieval IKEA gone terribly wrong. The sun peered through the gaps in the clay brick walls like an uninvited inspector, and I barked orders before. My cook could attempt breakfast in the dirt again. Morning mayhem. Loft edition first order of business was erecting the upstairs loft, because nothing says progress like shoving 3 misfits onto a shaky platform. Our fire-obsessed cook, gleeful at the prospect of not frying stew in the mud, hoisted clay bricks with the grace of a drunken ox, sending half of them crashing onto the smith's latest axe creation. The smith retaliated by swinging his Butterknife axe at a support beam so violently that the handle snapped clean off, sending him sprawling in a perfect face plant. Meanwhile, our coward blessed his quivering heart delegated plank calling to the goat militia, only to retreat into the rafters at the slightest creak, convinced the entire structure would implode at any moment. Midday Inferno, Campfire Chronicles. With loft beams wobbling precariously overhead, we moved on to lighting a proper campfire. The cook beat out a triumphant rhythm on a rusty pot, struck flint like an over-enthusiastic drummer, and produced a flame so enthusiastic it licked halfway up his sleeve. He shrieked, I jumped back, and the smith ever-practical doused half. The blaze would creak water, leaving us with a smoky inferno that threatened to double as a signal fire. Our coward, safely barricaded behind a pile of stones, lobbed twigs into the pit like grenades, insisting he was leading the charge. After 10 minutes of blistered hands and singed eyebrows, the fire finally settled into a manageable glow warm enough to cook, cool enough not to burn down the cabin. Afternoon antics, butcher's block bonanza next up, the butcher's table. We draped a freshly caught rabbit over a plank only to watch the cook stare at it so long he nearly forgot we had mouths to feed. The smith hammered iron hooks into the wood with dramatics worthy of a Shakespearean tragedy, each clang echoing off the valley walls and bruising his tender ego. Our coward gently placed fish and game on the table, shooing goats away with terrified squeaks because apparently the sight of fresh meat transforms innocent goats into bloodthirsty carnivores. By the end, the butcher's block was stained with the fruits of river and forest, and I had to pry a half-chewed trout from the smith's pocket. Twilight triumph, huddled heroes as dusk painted the sky with dramatic purples. We ascended to the new loft, constructed well enough that it didn't collapse under 3 pairs of boots. There, huddled around the flickering campfire on a platform that surely violated more building codes than a dragon's lair, we passed around roasted rabbit legs and toasted marshmallows when the cook finally remembered to bring them. The smith admired his crooked hooks as if they were Excalibur itself, and our coward beamed because he'd barricaded himself safely away from both flames and falling bricks. Data ends not with perfection, but with a rickety cabin that somehow holds air and goats, a fire that doesn't threaten immediate incineration, and a butcher's table that mostly keeps our dinner off the floor. Tomorrow promises new catastrophes like figuring out how to keep the livestock from unionizing, but for now, we celebrate this small satirical triumph over medieval incompetence. Night falls on day 2, and our half-finished cabin transforms into a shaky fortress of drafty walls and flickering torchlight. The cook, bleary-eyed, tries roasting the last rabbit leg on a hook above the campfire only to discover the meat. It is now goat jerky courtesy of last night's escapee. The smith sits on the loft's edge, gently tapping his butterknife axe against the railings to test for collapse, muttering, "One day, these will be proper railings." Down below, our coward cowers in the corner, clutching a torch like it's a lifeline, while delegating midnight goat patrols. If they survive, so do we. Outside, the goat militia bleats challenge at shadowy shaped sand when a pack of raccoons tries to raid our berry stash. The goats charge with unexpected gusto. By candles guttering light, we huddle on mismatched stools, nibbling charred carrot chunks and plotting tomorrow's upgrade spraying the roof holds together. Until dawn. Alright, Laughpack crew, strap in for the day to outrow here's what went down and why you absolutely can't miss the next 98 days of chaos. First off, day 1 kicked off in our iron-veined, clay-rich valley with 0 crash landing theatrics just. Pure medieval idiocy. We marked our loot drop, slapped together a half-finished cabin, and survived our cook torching half the clay pile. Our smith bending support beams with his trusty butterknife axe, and our coward bribing goats into hauling logs while hiding behind barrels. We harvested berries to cook, almost set the bushes ablaze. The smith gingerly plucked what he could, and the goats delivered the rest. Tested our dawn to dusk routine, and even discovered glinting gold seams and a budding economy trading. Charred stew for goat milk cheese and bartering bent iron for extra hay. By sunset we had a ramshackle hut that somehow held air, a mismatched wood pile, and a trio of exhausted misfits ready for torchlight barred tailies. Data woke us to wobbly walls that creaked like a dying dragon. We built an upstairs loft cook, hoisted bricks with ox-level grace, and set one alight. Smith swung his butterknife axe so hard the handle snapped, and the coward delegated plank hauling to the goat militia before scurrying to the rafters. Next, we ignited a proper campfire. The cook's triumphant spark nearly incinerated his sleeves. The smith doused half the blaze in creek water, and our coward lobbed twigs like grenades until the fire finally settled into a manageable glow. Then came the butcher's table. We hung rabbit and fish on crooked hooks crafted with Shakespearean drama. The smith bruised his ego on every clang, and the coward shooed goats away from dinner long enough for us to taste real meat. By twilight, we perched on our semi-stable loft, roasted rabbit legs, and toasted marshmallows, finally eating something that didn't taste like charcoal mash. That's 2 days down. 98 more to build an empire. Here's what to expect. Next up, we're raising a balcony sturdy enough for goat naps, forging a research table for questionable science, and finishing that butcher block so we never chow on sawdust again. But beyond that, we're talking. Giant castle spires scraping the sky, walls thick enough to repel raiders and sneaky neighbor PCs, and an economy so wild we'll trade iron pikes for enchanted butternuts. We'll recruit a goat cavalry, lay siege to nearby hamlets, and maybe even bribe the local dragon if he'll lease us a couple fire-breathing teen NCs. So if you've laughed at our cook's combustion experiments, cringed at the smith's bendy, metal, or cheered when the coward finally bossed the goats into action. Smash that subscribe button, you don't want to miss a single day of medieval mayhem. Hit the bell, join our ragtag army, and witness the birth of a castle built on equal parts incompetence and sheer goat-powered determination. Trust me, the next 98 days are going to be jam-packed with blood, bread, bricks, and most importantly wood. See you at sunrise for day 3.